What if the greatest pain in your life was actually the beginning of your power? You lost everything, people laughed, you were humiliated, but instead of breaking you, it built you. This is not just a story of survival, it's a blueprint for taking control of your destiny, rewriting your story, and turning pain into purpose, because the truth is, life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. Let's begin. What does it take to be in charge of your destiny? What do you have going for you? What is it that you have going for you right now that's a real plus for you? What is it that you have going against you? What kind of training do you require? What is it that you need to learn? Don't worry about the fact that you don't have all the things you need in order to make it happen. Decide that you're going to do something about it. Become an active force in your life. Most people go through life never using the power they have. If you don't use your talents, if you don't use this power, this force that you have within you, you're going to lose it. As you begin to look at life, as you begin to look at the things you want to do, decide that you're going to become the active force in your life. View all of the things that happen to you as an opportunity. Now you become an active force in your life. Now you are the one, rather than running from things as they begin to change, you become a change driver, because you know that you've got the power within you to make the difference. This force, this power, this energy that you have, that's more powerful than anything that can ever happen to you. How you feeling this evening? Whenever somebody asks me how I'm doing, I always say better than good and better than most. And that's what I like for you to say. How you doing? Better than good, better than most. Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say you're doing better than good. You're better than good. All right. You know, I like to say that because I believe that we have a lot of things going for us that many of us don't realize, and many of us really never use all the things that we have going for us, and never act on the things that we'd like to act on. And consequently, most of us go through life sleepwalking, never really discovering our true potential, never enjoying life to its full extent. And so, therefore, I think that there are some things that we need to begin to do to take charge of our destiny. How many of you would like to take charge of your destiny? Raise your hand, please. Very good. All right, so we're going to do that. One of the things that really stimulated this, I was with a friend of mine. We were riding back after I'd spoken to her company and they had a major downsizing. Now they call it right-sizing, when companies reduce the workforce for economic reasons. At any rate, when we were on the plane, she said, "You know, I'm no longer going to be with the company." And I said, "No, why?" She said, "Well, my division has been eliminated." I said, "Well, you do have another plan, don't you?" And she said, "No." I said, "But didn't they have something of this nature about a year ago?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Didn't you start thinking that maybe perhaps you need to prepare to do that which you really wanted to do?" This person that I've known for a long time always wanted to be involved in fashion design. So I said, "Haven't you been doing something on your fashion designing career?" She said, "No." I said, "But what have you been doing?" She said, hoping that nothing happened to me. I said, "But hoping is not a process. It's not a method." You know, a lot of people go through life like that. That wasn't really what she wanted to do. I do a training seminar, and one of the things we ask, what would you do if the unthinkable happens to you? What would you do if you had an accident, or you lost your job, or you were laid off, or you became ill? How would you provide for yourself if the unthinkable happens to you? And it doesn't always happen to the other person. It can happen to me, it can happen to you. But most of us go through life thinking that, well, just maybe it won't happen to me. That we just read about somebody else, but it will happen to us. Talking to a friend of mine by the name of Maria who is wheelchair bound, she said she had an experience in her life that taught her that she's not immune from life. She was diagnosed as having muscular dystrophy at age 15, and she figured that was tragic enough. But 2 years ago, because of a malfunctioning wheelchair, she fell out of a van, struck her head, and suffered a closed head injury, had blood on her brain. They said she perhaps might go blind or suffer loss of memory or concentration. I said, "How did you handle that?" She said, "Les, it was the best thing that could have happened to me." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because on that day, I woke up and I realized that life is about today, living today, that whatever I want to do, I do it right now." She said, "I enjoy getting up in the morning, looking out of the window, just looking at the grass." She said, "Because I could have lost my vision. I'm appreciative of just the little things." Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say, "Be thankful for the little things." Isn't that important, that we've got to begin to learn how to become thankful for the little things and living life right now? So I want you to think about your ideas. All of us have ideas and things that we have not acted on. I want you to just think about them right now. Ewell Simpson said that an idea should be like a pin, that a pin that you sit on and you jump up right away to do something with it. So I don't want you to just think about it. When you leave here, I want you to jump and do something with it. All right, now, so think about this idea. What does it take to be in charge of your destiny? Well, you've got to begin to develop some skills. And you've got to ask yourself a question: what do you have going for you? What is it that you have going for you right now that's a real plus for you? What is it that you have going against you? What kind of training do you require? What is it that you need to learn? See, you make money only one of three ways in an economy of this nature. You have to have a skill, like I've developed the skill to become a speaker, or have some specialized knowledge, or have a particular product or service that you can provide for the public. John H. Johnson of Ebony magazine said something very important. He says, "There is no defense against an excellence that meets a pressing public need. So any idea that you have, it must fulfill a need for somebody." Why don't you think about it? Now, here's the next step. Don't worry about the fact that you don't have all the things you need in order to make it happen. Decide that you're going to do something about it. Become an active force in your life. See, you've got some talents and abilities right now. You have that. If you don't challenge yourself to use those talents and abilities, you'll never ever discover the full effect that they can have on achieving all the things that you want to achieve. Most people go through life never using the power they have. You have enormous power to begin to create all the things that you want in your life experience. Most people go through life never using. Deserve that? Okay. Now here's something else I want you to realize: things are going to happen. You've just got to handle it. My goddaughter Nee, I.K. Williams, who lives in Columbus, Ohio, just this past week, 3 children in her neighborhood that she went to school with were sitting in a car talking. An intoxicated driver lost control of his vehicle, ran into that car, and killed those 3 kids. The children they went to school with experienced pain, grief, and shock, but they became actively involved in putting together the funeral services. I talked with her and said, "How you doing, Nee? I.K." She said, "I miss them, but there's something I realize. Many of the relationships we have in life, we take casually. We don't say all the things we really should say or do all the things with people who mean something to us that we really should do." She said, "I'm going to miss them, but it's really alerted me about how unpredictable life is. So now she's going to become a very sharing person, more so than ever before, and so are all the other young people who were involved." But they were handling it. As you begin to look at your life, decide to handle things. When you decide that you want to begin to take control of your destiny, there are going to be some sacrifices you have to make. There will be things that you're going to have to decide. I've got to give this up. I've got to let this go. Many times you will have problems in your personal relationships. When I decided to become a motivational speaker, I was gone sometimes for weeks at a time. I'll never forget, I did a big major rally for a guy named Dexter Yager, a big Amway rally called Free Enterprise Day. After speaking, people were chanting, "We want the motivator. We want the motivator." I was excited, so I went back to the phone after I came off stage and I called the young lady I was dating at the time. I said, "Look, I wiped them out. They love me. They were saying, 'We want the motivator.'" I let her hear it on the phone. She said, "Les, I need to tell you something." I said, "What?" Then I heard a voice in the background say, "Hurry up and tell him." I said, "Who's that?" She said, "Les, you've been gone so long." I said, "Yes, I've been working on a dream." She said, "I'm sorry, the relationship is over." I said, "What, you got to be kidding." I hung up, then I said to myself, "Mr. Motivator, come on." I said, "Okay, okay." I went outside and looked at the people and said, "You've got to have a dream that's real big." I said, "Sometimes things will happen to you that'll catch you on the blind side and bring you to your knees." I went back to the hotel. They had to pull me off stage. I was out there saying, "You've got to have a larger vision. You've got to be hungry." They pulled me off. I said, "And you got to stay motivated." They said, "Come on, motivator." And they were turning the lights off. The janitor wanted to go home. They took me to the hotel. I was walking in the room trying to find the Gideon Bible, and Lonely was sitting on the bed saying, "How's your positive attitude? How's your larger vision? Now I'm telling you, when this happens, think it not strange. You're going to cry. People are going to get mad at you. People will start working against you. Your mate is going to get upset with you. Where you going? I'm working on the dream. Aha, I got your dream. You ain't going nowhere." People are going to start going crazy on you, becoming jealous and envious. That's a part of the program, understand that. That's why a lot of people say, "No, that's all right, I'll pass on the dream." They keep biting their nails and hope nothing happens. But it's an experience. That opposition, those obstacles you encounter, that's how you grow. That's how you become stronger. Now will there be some tight moments? Will there be times you want to give up? Yes, here's something I read by Harriet Beecher Stowe. When you get into a tight spot and everything goes against you, until it seems that you cannot hold on for a minute longer, never give up then. For that is just the place and time the tide will turn. Never give up then. That is so important when you're working on doing the things you want to do and fulfilling your dream. Things happen. There are times when your energy feels so depleted that you want to give up, that it looks just totally impossible. I can tell you from personal experience, don't give up then. That's when you've got to fall forward. When life is kicking dirt in your face, don't give up then. That's when most people turn back. Most people tuck their tails between their legs, run in the opposite direction, and say, "That's all right, life. I don't want this." No, if you've decided that this is what you want to do, you've got to become courageous. Stand up within yourself, face it, and step forward. That is what gives your life meaning. Those things will begin to strengthen you like you could never imagine. One of the most painful experiences I had in my life was also one of the most enriching. Because they say pain opens the space in the heart for joy, and because I didn't buy into something, because I caught myself at a critical point and was able to back up and look, I was able to become free of the effects of what could have been a tragic situation for me and move on. I learned in the process that I had to learn to surrender and give certain things up. See, in life, everything that happens to you, there's a lesson in it. There's a lesson in it for you if you look at it. Whatever happens to you, just look at it and view life like you're a student of the universe and say, what's in here for me to learn? One of the most tragic things that happened to me that could have been a tragedy was when I wanted to buy my mother a home. And I did that. In my haste, it was the first major property purchase I'd ever made in my life. I was naive. We were sitting there at the closing. The attorney said, "Have you done a title search?" I said, "What's a title search?" She said, "That's when you check to see if there are any liens against the property before you purchase it, so you don't inherit the previous owner's financial obligations." The guy selling said, "Look here, the only reason I'm selling this house and doing it at a loss is because I admire the fact that you're adopted and want to buy this home for your mother. There are no liens on the property. I just want to help you." I looked at my attorney. She said, "Les, this is business. I'm not questioning his integrity, but I advise you not to sign the contract now." He said, "If you're not going to do it, I'll go ahead and make the money I was going to make." I said, No, I want to do it." She said, "Okay, but this is not the last house in the world." I signed the contract. After being in the house for around 2 months, I received a notice that I had to pay a lien of $25,000 or get out. I called the attorney. I said, "Look here, sir, my name is Les Brown. I'm the new owner of this property. I bought this home for my mother. She's 80 years old with a bad heart. I just can't give up this home. I've exhausted all my resources. Can we work out monthly payments?" He said, "We want the money in 6 weeks, or you have to get out. It's going to auction." I went home and worried for weeks. I lost around 23 pounds. I went home to catch the mail so my mother wouldn't see it. They put a listing in the newspaper. People were driving by wanting to see the house. I put a sign out front saying the newspaper article was an error. Finally, when the day came that they were going to auction it on the courthouse steps, I knew the moment of truth had come. I had to tell my mother. I walked all night around 2:00 a.m. I knelt by her bed and said, "Mama, I've got something to tell you." She said, "What?" I said, "We've got to move out of the house." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because I made a mistake. I didn't get a title search and I can't pay the $25,000 lien." She said, "Good. I don't like this house anyway." I said, "But you told me you did." She said, "I just said that for you because you liked it so much. It's too story, baby, and with my arthritis, I can't climb the steps." I said, "Mama, you told me you could." She said, "I just did that for you." We had to pack up and go back to the old house we'd moved out of in Liberty City. The neighbors were out looking, saying, "Is that M's boy? They coming back?" I was so embarrassed. I turned red, but nobody could see it. My sister came over. She didn't make it any better. Mr. Big Time won't get no job, running around running your mouth. Got a dream to get mama a home, now you back where you belong. We came in the house. The roaches were playing bid whist. Y'all come on in, we missed y'all. As I was taking furniture off the truck, I was hurt and humiliated. I began to cry and held my head down. My mama said, "Hold your head up, boy." I said, "Mama, I just can't." She said, "Hold your head up. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You did the best you could. Hold your head up." So I said, "Yes, ma'am." That week I had to give a lecture on forgiveness. I can't talk about anything unless I'm doing it myself. I had to forgive and forget, let it go so I could grow. It took me time to work through that, but I did. And I was able to give the lecture. To this day, I can't even remember that guy's name. Let it go and I begin to focus my energy in the now. Later, I got a bigger and better home for my mama. Here's what I learned from that. That was not the last home in the world. There were other homes. If I had just been willing to just let it go, he who cares less wins. The guy called and said you got to get out of there. This is what happened. I mean, through worry and stress, I could have had a heart attack over a house that my mama didn't even like. Do you follow what I'm saying? So I realized, hey, it's only things and it's okay. They are replaceable. I lost everything except my spirit, the love of my mother and her respect, and the respect of my children. Sure, people talked about me. Did they laugh? Yes. Did I feel humiliated for a while? Yes, I did. Embarrassed? Yes, and that's a part of it, but I didn't stay there. See, sometimes you can wallow in it, don't want to get out. Somebody pulls you out. You feel good. Oh, I want to go back again. No, don't dwell in self-pity. And there are people who will help you call them up, and they give you a pity party. All right. I talked the other night about some explorers that were in Africa, and they saw these two little boys who were playing with what appeared to be marbles. And they went up to these little guys and said, "Here, let me give you some candy for that." Little fellas ate the candy and liked that. Said, "Can we have some more?" They said, "Yes, but would you give me what you are playing with?" And they said, "Yes." And they gave these shiny little rocks to the explorers. The explorers took them back and examined them and discovered they were large-sized uncut diamonds. They had a fortune in their hands, but they didn't know. Repeat after me, please. If we knew better, we would do better. See, there are many of us, we work for people, and sometimes put in 60 and 70 hours a week. Why? Because we have the ability, the talents, and the skills to contribute to the long-term growth and development and profitability of the company. Do we do that for ourselves? Oh no. Why? Well, we say, well, I've got security. There's no such thing. It's an illusion in your mind. We go through life creating these illusions for ourselves, but that doesn't mean you can't strategically work on something else on the side. Develop some hobby or passion, and find ways you can begin to create some alternative methods of providing wealth for yourself. See, money is not important to me, but Rita Davenport said, it's right up there with oxygen, but it is important to me that it not be important. I got that from R.E. Steele. That's important. It is important to me that it not be important. Make it important to you to live your dream. How many of you fly airplanes? You've been in an airplane, raise your hand. Right. How many of you ever lost your luggage? Raise your hand. Very good. Now, how many of you, if you knew your chances of getting to your next destination were as good as your luggage, would you still get on the airplane? No hands went up. You know why? You could get on the airplane, go where your luggage is supposed to go, and your luggage does not show up. Because the airline has made human cargo getting to the destination more important than the luggage. Aren't you glad? So as you begin to look at life, as you begin to look at the things you want to do, decide that you're going to become the active force in your life. Decide that you're not going to go through life feeling like a victim. Decide that when things become challenging, and they will, that you're not going to personalize it, that you're going to look at it, do whatever you must do to work things out and learn from it. That's the key. I like what Charles Udall said. In life, you will always be faced with a series of God-ordained opportunities, brilliantly disguised as problems and challenges. If you've lost your job, don't say, I've been laid off. Say, I've been given an opportunity by the universe to find my life's work. So, as you view all the things that happened to you as an opportunity, now you're taking it from a different perspective. Now you become an active force in your life. Now you are the one. Rather than running from things as they begin to change, you become a change driver because you know that you've got the power within you to make the difference. This force, this power, this energy that you have, it's more powerful than anything that can ever happen to you. You're more powerful than your circumstances or anything that you can experience. Right now, decide that you're going to commit yourself to act on your ideas, to become happy. Commit yourself to live your dream. Commit yourself to become the architect of your future. There's something I heard that Goethe wrote that I love very much, and as you begin to operate out of this consciousness, you begin to experience a different level of living in terms of commitment. He says, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. See, until you are willing to jump out there. Somebody asked me, how do I do that? I said, no, you don't need any answers now. You need to make the commitment. Once you make a commitment, then life will give you some answers. You can't decide to just sit on the side of the pool and just stick your toe in. No, you've got to be willing to make the leap. Most people don't want to do that. They want to sit on the side and say, tell me, is it cold out there? Is it rough out there? Come on out and see. No, you want to decide to make that commitment because that's when you begin to become involved in the learning process. He said, concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans that the moment one commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. I read a book by Dr. Johnny Coleman that says it works if you work it. As you begin to look at your life, decide that you're going to start working on that dream. You're going to work and nurture that idea. Now there will be people that will criticize you. There will be people that won't see it for you. But I say to you, don't let them turn you around. Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say, don't let nobody turn you around. That's key. Because people will try and turn you around. But when I heard Bob Mays out of Chicago sing that song, don't let nobody turn you around, that's real. Because that's why most people don't act on their dreams and ideas. That's why most people, when I'm talking with kids that are in institutions, and I say, what happened? Why did you give up working hard and making good grades? Well, they started teasing me. And they allowed that peer pressure to cause them to scale down their dreams and ambitions. They started following the crowd. That's why many people don't do the things they want to do. A friend of mine, he wanted to become an actor all his life. He let someone convince him, you can't become an actor. You go out to Hollywood, they'll swallow you up. It's too competitive. Thousands of unemployed people out there. But then another friend of mine, Sheila Hall, she decided at age 42, I'm going to live my dream. Her son graduated from high school. She decided to make the plunge to go to Hollywood. Quiet person, never had any experience in the area. And because she decided to make the commitment, she is now working on a one-woman show and getting support from everywhere. Because she was willing to make the commitment. This other guy, far more talented and skillful, but he wasn't willing to make the commitment. So he goes to work every day to a job that's making him sick, because he doesn't have the guts or the boldness to stand up in life and say, I'm going to live my dream. I'm going to commit myself to live out what's in me. I heard Dr. Johnny Youngblood say, I must live what's in me. I said, why do you do this? He said, I got to do it. I got to do it. And I'm saying, find something in your life that you say, hey, it might not work out, but I got to do this. Why? Hey, it's the one thing I love. It's my piece. It's my thing. You don't understand it. It's all right. It's all right. You don't need anybody to understand it. You don't need anybody to approve you. You don't need anybody to say, go ahead on and do it. If you get that, that's fantastic. If you get that encouragement, great. But I say, stand up within yourself boldly and say, this is my life. I'm controlling my destiny. You have greatness within you. You've got the power to rise, to rebuild, and to become more than anyone ever imagined. Don't let your past define you, let it refine you. Because you were not born to give up, you were born to win. So stand up, speak up, and show up for your dreams, for your future. For you, this is your moment, this is your time, and remember, it's not over until you win.